Hello, and welcome to Season 3 of Super Pros Bros. I'm Player 2, Eli, and with me, as always, is...
Player one, Isaac. And Roaster Strudel, did you know that this pod is on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify?
I did not brush with Stalin. Those the same places the people could
Like,
comment
share?
and subscribe.
Yeah, alright. Sounds good. Look, the coffee's not kicking in yet. I don't know how much in me. Now I've got a little more. As I slurp, what you been up to? How's life been treating you? This, that, and the other.
Um, things have been pretty good. Um, I I've had coming on the tail end of a long as fuck weekend for me, which has been great.
Nice.
Because I took to slightly date ourselves. We were recording on President's Day.
Woo!
Woo!
Memorial Day, but yeah,
Yeah. Didn't remember that Monday was President's Day or that I got it off work
sick.
and took Friday off to spend with other Eli and then realized I had Monday as well. So amazing.
The elusive 4-day weekend.
Oh yeah, no, it's been glorious. I kept having so much time the other day where I'm like, I have to go to work no I don't.
Whoa.
It's like finding kryptonite. So, otherwise, I just standard go to work, go home, whatever. But I've had a really fun, really good weekend. Hung out with Eli for a day. Um, I went and hung out with someone else I've been meeting up with and got my ass stomped at an arcade. They told me they were very good at pinball, and I'm like, all right, I've arcade
But
seems
known to
fun.
dabble.
Yeah, and I thought they were blowing a lot of fucking smoke because then the first two games of pinball I crushed them,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were calibrated, and the last game we played was a fucking war crime. The point totals, respectively, I had 9.5 million. They had 150.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
oh,
Oh oh, it hurt.
children, close your eyes.
Yeah, no, that was beyond a beating. That officially upgraded to war crime. Like that was a epic shellacking that I endured. I also discovered I suck ass at rhythm games because if I get flustered, I forget where my hands are and I just fucking smack buttons terribly.
The fighter comes out.
I'm like, Jesus, there's three buttons and I somehow forgot where all of them are. But no, it was a lot of fun. Um, and yeah, so now I've delayed doing my laundry, which I need to do. So
Hey, same.
God bless the Monday.
Well, I have plans for mine, so mine's gonna be a little trickier, and or I'm gonna be doing commando or reverse commando during the week to get to a day where I've got an opportunity. But all the same, whoops, laundry.
That is the entirety of what you got going on. Is just panic laundry.
Oh no. I didn't want to. I wasn't sure if you were done.
Nah, I mean the rest of my week is basically just going to work, playing Diablo 4 a bit. It's been pretty much it.
Nice. Well, this week, as it closed out, I was supposed to have a date Thursday night, a date Friday, a date Sunday, and a date Monday. The date
Mm-hmm.
Thursday canceled, and I'd already been on a date with them once, and we kind of were like, "Hey, look, we both think we're cool. I don't think this is gonna like work out because of like timing restrictions at the moment. So why don't we just be friends? And then if if we want to make more than that, cool. But otherwise, like we live near each other, and we can like chat, and maybe meet up for like a drink or go out for food."
Yeah.
Then Friday went on date, had a lovely time. Other person did too, but they got vibes that we would be better friends than romantic partners. Respect. And so that happened. Yesterday went out, and this is gonna make me sound like a piece of shit. mad respect to women for the way they take pictures on their profiles. I met up with this person. I had looked at their profile. I'd seen their pictures. Either those pictures were old or they are very good with the camera. Because I was like, oh, I recognize the face, not the body. Okay. All right then. This is who we are. Got it. And had to find enough time, but I am, and I think this doesn't. I think this gets shit on too much. We are, and me especially, are physical creatures. We have eyeballs, and we have certain things that we want to be present in our partners. There was too much of what was present in this partner, and I was like, nah, not for me. You know, God love you, you're a really nice person, but no thanks. I'm good. And then today, after recording, I am meeting someone in downtown Los Angeles for lunch, and it's going to be lovely. But so far, I'm batting at what I'm calling a 80% hard info rate, which has been no's so far, but I'm still batting at 80% for dates. 80% of the time, I get hard intel, and you know what? That's pretty good batting average as far as I'm concerned. Getting data out here, getting data and getting dishes. We
I'm
we
gonna
good with
say
that.
at least we're getting definitives though.
Yeah,
Or like
definitive data and delicious dishes. It's my new
there.
podcast coming this fall. It's just like me opening up my phone and leaving it like on record at a coffee shop. That's all it is. All right, I have this really funny exchange that I need to read out to you before we move on to anything else.
Okay.
So the other night I come back, I'm doing my normal sleeping ritual, which involves me eating a 10 milligram edible to kind of like wind down and get me in a sleeping mood.
Sure.
Um, Chatting on Discord, playing a little game, and as it takes full effect, and this guy, a little bit of background information. I play a lot of Magic, and most of the people I
Sure
hang out with
does.
play a lot of Magic. I'm on a Discord server, we're chatting, and this guy comes in talking about a different version of Magic. All forms are welcome, it's awesome, but it's kind of like it's such a different form that him talking about it just like rang to my ears funny. It was like if two gearheads were sitting next to each other and talking, and one was talking about their fucking like Formula One car, and the other one was talking about their fucking like Subaru wagon that they used to pick up their kids from soccer practice. Like they're both cars, but one of them is like barely a car.
Hmm.
No shade, but you know, it's and so he's talking about this, and he's like getting really like he's really into it, and it's beautiful, but it's also kind of hilarious to me. And he just pauses, and I go, in my very non-sober state, I go, Benji, I love you, and I say this with love, but listening to you talk about this in quotes cool scenario is like listening to a 5-year-old tell me about their macaroni art. There's a couple giggles, a beat. Benji's response is amazing. He just like Benji goes, Isaac, I'm gonna fuck your mom.
What?
Still, retelling it for like the third or fourth time, it still brings tears to my eyes. It's so damn funny.
That's that's such an escalation. What the fuck?
It is, but it's in such a short sentence that it makes it better. Like he didn't like do this big wind up.
It's so succinct.
Yeah, it's just so just plain Jane. I'm gonna fuck your mom. I'm like, all right. The chat exploded, me especially. I died laughing for legitimately 2 minutes. It was so fucking funny. So good. Oh. So yeah, other than that, school's been winding down. Coming to the end, and you know, kind of it is less than wow. In a month's time, I will be In exactly a month's time, I will be asleep in the Netherlands if all goes according to plan. So,
Nice.
nice. Other things that are nice might be our topic today, which is
Summer out reboots.
woo.
Uh, so we have we've had mixed reviews of reboots in general that we've yammered about. So we figured we could give the guidelines on how to do it right, because we're the arbiters now. Deal with it.
Yes.
Um,
Deal with it.
yeah. So we thought we could talk about um, what instead of, and not just exclusively what to avoid, but also what are positive ways to try and structure reboots, since they're not impossible to make work, since there are some that have done it decently, um, and how to better hedge your bets towards having something that can work versus something that is, yeah, I'll be guaranteed to fail.
So to start off, we've got a couple of caveats of things that we highly don't recommend doing and have, in our opinion, been heinous, to use a term from earlier in the show, war crimes against our beloved titles. The
Yeah.
first up being,
First thing is, don't do a cheap recoding. Um, so what I mean by that is
what
the
if we
20,
did the Wiz white?
yeah, or I didn't think about it. That's a way better. That is a way more egregious example. Um,
But I
but
don't know if they've done it. I think that's just the running joke that is becoming our reality.
yeah, my thought was the 2016 version of Ghostbusters that effectively just gender recoded the entire cast.
What if, guys, bear with me. What if instead of penises, they had vaginas?
Yeah, and
Also, I just love looking back now. They kept the casting dynamic the same of all white people except for one token black character.
yep. Um,
Fucking funny.
it's like, no, I want to add this caveat. So there is absolutely an argument to be made for representation and equality in writing and hiring practices, etc. Okay, fine. But if it seems like the argument you made to producers for what's going to sell tickets is we're going to appeal to a female base because we've got a full female cast, and that feels like the only justification you're making for this, stop. Don't do it. It's stupid. Like,
Also, it generally doesn't work.
yeah, more often than not, it does not work. Um, and if you want to do things that are explicitly about representation,
Barbie.
like, yeah, do your own novel IP. Do something actually unique. Don't just do a cheap fucking recoding. Don't do it where I can go, okay, you probably pitched this as a selling point, and it's probably what got you greenlit by producers because they thought, yeah, that's marketable enough. It'll probably pay me back. Like,
And to be fair, we are not fighting against the idea of representation, feminism, or
absolutely
anything
not.
like that. It's the implementation thereof.
Yes.
This
So,
is we are arguing for the artistic aspect of this.
yes, exactly. So I have gotten exposed to, um, so, so Other Eli is, God bless them, they're queer as fuck. Um, they they're queer as fuck. They know it. It's cool. Um, and so I've gotten to learn about just a bunch of bizarre fucking indie movies that are about queer shit. Um, and it's like, okay, if you want to do movies about representation, you can do them. There
Yep.
is an audience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go
And they
go
can be
apeshit.
novel where they have their own. The issue, and I think the reason a lot of big companies do this is because they don't want to lose money because they are businesses.
Yeah,
First and foremost, I understand that, but at the same time, audiences, as far as I can tell, generally don't go and see these movies that much. So taking a risk on something that is new
yeah,
has a lot more yield. Because if it does work, if these, indie movies got more money and they do work, then you can make a new universe within those, which
yep.
is something you can't really, I mean, I think they're trying, but you really can't make a Ghostbusters but vaginas universe. I don't think that's going to sell. And,
No, it
as it was a one off, I don't think it did.
yeah, and it's part of it is too because if you're not using your own IP, if it's not something completely novel, you have to be able to stand up to the original. And if
Yep.
that is the difference, and that is what feels like the most tangible difference to us, is it's Ghostbusters with vaginas, well, that's stupid. It feels cheap. It feels like it's pandering, and that feels really bad. Like it's just
Yep.
it, yeah. Like even if you crush it, like you have to crush it because otherwise it flops. Otherwise, it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths.
Yeah.
There's just no way around it. Like, yeah, just don't do it. Don't make it feel forced like that.
And the other one is we have the aspect of kind of, and this is a pretty rare case, but it has very recently happened, which is not respecting your audience. You do need to respect your audience, and especially the IP, pay homage to some extent. It doesn't need to be like fucking Star Wars Episode 1 where you're seeing all this fucking background chatter. It doesn't need to be like that. You can have it be subtle, you can have it be flavor, you can have it be textual, but you really don't need to.
Just insult them. Don't be Velma. It's not hard. That that one almost felt like an exercise in how offensive can you make a
Yeah.
reboot.
What?
But
How much of a bitch will they let me get away with being? Like,
yeah,
how much of an absolute asshole? How much of a cock can I rock up and be?
I hope that Velma is the thing that gets people to stop hate watching stuff.
I mean, as I believe it got immediately greenlit with a season two.
Yeah, my hope is that season two nobody rewatches it. Like I hope that season two is an
Yeah.
enormous money pit. That's my hope. I'm not gonna get it, but I can hope this. I'm not stupid. I'm not that naive, but I can dream.
I can.
But yeah, I yeah the flip side of this coin, where you can actually do a good job respecting your audience and honoring your source material. Batman Beyond did it super fucking well. Um, where it's very clearly in the same, like it's in the same gritty dark Gotham. It's, you know, and there's a lot of nods to the old Batman stuff, but it's all been refreshed and updated and kind of modernized, for lack of a better term. It's like set in 2035 or something. Um, you know, it's different, but it still respects where it comes from. I mean, for fuck's sake, Bruce Wayne is still actually part of the show, but you know, it's there are very clear ways you can do it and not flip off your base, and you know who you're marketing to, and that's fine.
So this is awesome. Do you know the year that this is another one of those like fucking Jetsons moment? Do you know the year that Batman Beyond is set in?
I thought it's like 2030 or something.
It starts in 2019. I think then it goes to the 2039 into 2040s. I think it's where it's primarily set. But I think the beginning of the show, so it's probably when Batman retires, is 2019.
Okay.
But yeah. So
Bruce
we're
Wayne, you're fucking old.
yeah. Doesn't that literally get said almost like nearly verbatim in the show?
I think
Like
he does complain about being old because he was like
yeah.
he's the voice in the Batcave for once, where he's like
Yeah.
he effectively takes the place like Oracle has for a long time.
I thought wait, Oracle.
Uh, so originally Oracle is Batgirl. She gets like her spine broken, and she's confined to a
Oh,
wheelchair. So she becomes like basically the voice in the headset for Batman.
I mean, didn't that used to be Alfred like back in the day, or was that not different?
Depends on the artist. Depends on which iteration. I think
Okay,
Oracle was the most common one.
okay.
But yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, yeah. Either way,
random random foray aside.
yeah.
These are the following are the reboot criteria and some examples that we think are good ways that this can be implemented. You want to take first crack, my friend?
All right, let's have at it. So first option: change your character's roots. Change fundamentally where they come from.
Go on back to the roots.
Would you care to talk about the example you have for this?
So, example I initially thought up was Spider Verse. just changing the character so that he is no longer Peter Parker, changing the way the universe is set up so that Kingpin looks like a fucking square. Uh, it's so awesome. I love it. It's
He's
so
a big
absurd.
mattress cutout.
Talk about Kingpin, more like king size. Uh, it's such a great, like, visually aside, it's such a great story because instead of having this character who starts off with Aunt May and, he said a person who died and this and that, we start off one with two loving parents, both of them minorities, both of them working in, and I really think this helps sell his character choices. Is his mom's a nurse, his dad's a cop. They both serve and protect in different aspects to the community. So having that be integral to where the character comes from moving forward, his choice to be a selfless servant of his community tracks. He's seen it be modeled in his home. He's like, yeah, that's the right thing to do. That's what people do. That's what my parents did. That's kind of like hardwired into his DNA. You've got the villain coming from within the family. A lot of these like little aspects play a big difference. Instead of, he's really smart, they want him to go to a school, he feels uncomfortable. It's a lot of different dynamic changes that come from the one, like, that just kind of come naturally from that one, like, changing his background and where he's coming from, instead of, he's still in, I believe he's still basically in the same neighborhood, maybe a
Yep.
different area. Maybe it's like Queens instead of like Bronx or something like that, but same relative thing. We still got him being a bit of a smart aleck, not as much so, which I think does play into the cultural difference of the way a white kid would interact with, having superpowers fucking with criminals versus a black kid. As somebody who grew up as a white kid and somebody who works with a fair amount of African American children, there are little things that you notice about the way they shit talk, and it kind of holds up in the show. And it's very minute, but it's just the angle of shit talking and the situations that it comes up.
Hmm.
It feels authentic to from what I've experienced in my life with both these populations. So like that holds up. I
Hmm.
don't know. What do you think?
Um, I mean, I admittedly have not paid attention to the idea of shit talking, but like, otherwise, a lot of it has like even the basic things like beyond just being a fucking quip machine like Peter Parker is. I know what my cat is waffling on whether or not he wants up in my lap. Um, he is fundamentally different on kind of how he sees a lot of things in Peter Parker, um, because of where he comes from. Like Peter Parker, in many ways, is motivated by loss, um, and the idea of having to be present because his absence and fuck up, Uncle Ben is dead. Um, versus it's much more a voluntary position. Not to say voluntary, but like it's it's more driven by example than out of a kind of twisted sense of guilt for Miles Morales. And he is much more in touch with a different sect of community because of where he's from. Like, I mean, I think at some point you see him doing like making street art and shit.
Yeah.
He is like where he's from, how he sees the world is fundamentally altered. Um, and like how he engages with people in his day to day life as well is different than how Peter Parker would talk to people because how he grew up is very different. Like he talks to his uncle about like hip hop music and shit. That's not a conversation Peter Parker's ever having. It's just not. Like, um, and it feels really refreshing because it doesn't feel like any kind of cheap recoding. And I think that it really sticks out is just how much his cultural upbringing plays into who Miles Morales is. And it's not that he is necessarily a particularly different moral compass than Peter Parker, or that he is antithetical to Peter Parker. but he is just different. He is a different flavor of Spider-Man. They both do fundamentally the same things. They both occupy the same space, and depending on the artist and comic, they both exist in New York at the same time. Um, yeah, like it is an appropriate change or alteration of the idea of Spider-Man.
Hmm.
I think I'm out of words.
Okay. Well, next up we have a really fun criteria, which is the untold aspect or the unexplored kind of area of a universe or of a story that has previously been told. And the example we have for this one is
the, the Planet of the Apes series. It's not just a trilogy anymore. Um,
the
yeah, so they took
ape universe.
yeah the Apiverse. Um, when did the original Planet of the Apes come out?
70s, I think.
Oof, okay, I didn't know it was that old.
Yeah.
Um,
It's Charlton Heston.
fair enough. Um, so yeah, it feels like the pitch of this originally was basically, how did we get here? Like, do the freeze frame. You're probably wondering how we got here. Um, and it was an interesting exploration and kind of watching humanity fall apart and creating the situation where both apes start taking over everything, and humans just kind of fall off a cliff. And it's just this assumption that is made in the original, where you're just like, okay, this is what we're working with, go. And so it's an interesting kind of thought experiment, and to watch it play out, because like you know where it's going to end up eventually, but in doing so, you get to follow, especially for the first three, a very novel protagonist in Caesar, and the emergence of effectively political friction and schism in the new formation of this kind of the ape party, for lack of a better term. Um,
Ape faction.
yeah, all while it's amidst the backdrop of humanity, croaking as it's just slowly dying to this virus, um, which creates another source of tension and intrigue. Because well, even though you know that humans are fucked, that's where this goes. Like humans just they're gonna die. Sure, there is still this. What's the word I'm looking for? Um, there's this kind of intrigue in watching how it plays out. Like,
Hmm.
and as much as humans aren't the focal point, it's still interesting to watch the evolution of the apes and how they get to where again you know where it's going to end up, but being along for the ride and seeing it kind of unfold is really engaging, and they've done a really good job making it interesting and create and effectively personifying the apes as they become more human and more evolved. They eat more of the spotlight, and it's less about humans collapsing and more about them actually rising, which is it's actually really cool.
And I think that's like one of the big takeaways is it needs to be novel. What you bring to it, like you're saying, it's pretty cool. It's like, yeah, it is. And that's generally what you're going to see with a lot of these is it needs to be novel, needs to be interesting, and needs to be like a draw in aspect
Yeah.
to the IP.
So our third point would be about changing how characters behave. You have a good example for this one, Isaac?
I do.
Ooh.
The original Ocean's 11 that came out in like the 60s or maybe even earlier with the Rat Pack. I'm talking Dean Martin and all those fun fellows. It's fucking boring. If they were not the Rat Pack,
That movie would never have sold.
it would suck. The reason people watch it is because it's Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., fucking wow, I can't remember the most famous one,
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra. Thank you. It's just them fucking hanging out with cameras rolling and doing something that approaches a movie. You can see this also in like old Elvis movies and shit. There are movies that are made in the 60s that aren't movies. There is a camera, there are people that are on screen, but they're not really acting. They're just kind of fucking around. It's like an Adam Sandler movie out of time. Like if you watch new Adam Sandler movies, apparently they are really fun to work on. Can believe because their scripts don't exist. They're just fucking around with a camera rolling at them. And they're having fun, and people like it because people like Adam Sandler, because of course you do. It's the same kind of thing. Now, Ocean's 11 is made by, I believe, Soderbergh, and it's got a banger of a cast: George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon. Just the list goes on. They're all just bangers the whole way down. And it's also shot with purpose. It also changes the actions of the characters so it creates a cohesive story instead of just like, yeah, we're gonna eventually rob a casino, I think, in Vegas. Anyway, we're gonna drink gin and like grab ladies' asses for an hour. Hang out with the Rat Pack in this edition of Who Gives a Fuck, where this one, the story is super well told. There are flip reverses of, you know, what actions people are going to. There's a point at which you think the plan has gone awry in the original movie. Slight spoilers, but the movie's over 20 years old. Where you think Danny Ocean has like made a mistake and gotten himself caught. No, it was the plan all along. But you kind of are along for the ride, that you buy into it and don't think about plot as much, because the way the movie's shot is so seamless. I could watch this movie from start to finish by accident. It just doesn't ever really lull. It's not moving so fast like a later movie on our entry that like you just get sucked in, you can't take your eyes away, but it's just effortless.
Yeah.
So much of the movie that it's just kind of happening and just kind of like, oh, this is nice. The character introductions, the introductions to the scheme, the implementation of the scheme, it's all just so smooth. And a lot.
Very
sorry, good. What do you say?
I said it is very buttery.
Yeah. A lot of this has to do with the direction, but also has to do with the characters' actions and what they want, creating a cohesive story that, you know, just moves like seamlessly from point A to point B to point C to point D via Soderbergh's like immaculate direction and camera work. And, you know, that's one of the things you can do is take something that either wasn't a movie or was a movie, change a couple actions, change a couple sets, and just make it amazing. Next up, we have a novel plot angle. What one we got for this, Broskinkowski?
So, I'm actually going to pick Legend of Korra to fill this slot.
What? An Avatar universe spinoff? Why I never?
Why you never?
Finding a way to make your quota even when you can't reference the original series.
Listen, man, job. Life finds a way. So the reason I will bring this up for this topic is, as even just the first season. So in all of Avatar, it explores power dynamics between the countries. It explores a lot of the, you know, kind of political fear mongering, et cetera, et cetera. War is hell. Okay. What it doesn't really touch is the discrepancy between benders and non-benders.
Sorry, my brain just went to Futurama.
You liked him as Bender the Offender. Prepare to hate him as the Gender Bender. Is that where it went?
No, I just heard Bender and I went, wait, what? No, but that's a great callback.
You know, and there is an innate power discrepancy that even Sokka makes a point, like Sokka references, like, you guys basically have superpowers, and I'm just the guy with a boomerang. And it's not that he has no value, but he's not wrong. There is a huge power discrepancy. Like, they are literally superpowered. They can manipulate the world around them. He has a piece of metal he can throw. Like
Taste it, nerds.
yeah, like he's really smart. He's really clever. He's a good problem solver. He can't move a fucking mountain.
He's their universe's Batman.
Holy shit!
I can plan shit. I've got a metal thing to throw at somebody in case they fuck around. In the meantime, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, why don't you go do actual hero shit?
Oh my god, it's so true.
It really is. Holy shit. That just hit me right now.
That's kind of amazing. Anyway, so in the first season of Legend of Korra, that is the plot discrepancy. That is the political friction and societal friction that is explored. Is the idea that benders hold way too much authority. Benders hold intrinsically more power over people because they can abuse it. I mean, like, one of the first scenes is basically people shaking down a storefront for money because, holy shit, you have gangsters who can literally shoot fire from their fingertips. Well, that's a problem. Um, and it's the new. It is the core plot point in the first season is that there is this discrepancy, and people don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty reasonable one. If I had someone shooting fire out of their hands at me, I wouldn't like it. So it's one of those things that if you're going to do a reboot, there has to be some way for you to approach it that is different, that explores something different. Like, it's not just rehash same big bad guy over again.
Yep.
What makes them stand out? What makes this time different?
Like, what would a society be like if, this proliferated and continued?
Yeah.
What is the next step in effectively human evolution once war and I mean that's like one of the big things, like when we take out Nazis and a society is able to proliferate, and it is allowed to grow with unencumbered aspects of war, because war stops any kind of it. You make better weapons, but your society doesn't progress.
Yep.
So what happens when your society gets to progress? What happens when there is no war? What happens when there is the roaring 20s that is basically the setting?
Yeah, exactly. So, but what if we go in and we change some of the setting or the language? I was like, what do we get then?
So this is a very interesting one. Both of these they're not carbon copies. One of them is a carbon copy, but they both are retellings of the same story. Both of them different settings, and one of them, or both of them different languages, actually. One of them is the same director, though. So I'm talking about the Magnificent Seven turning into Seven Samurai, and Cold Pursuit Seven Samurai turning into Magnificent Seven, and In Order of Disappearance turning into Cold Pursuit. So the first one is Akira Kurosawa's fantastic masterpiece, Seven Samurai, and the American version of it. So can't have all these Japanese speaking on the television. I can't read that fast. And turning into, these are, which is really funny because I think the lead in Magnificent Seven is like Russian. But Yul Brynner, he's definitely not American. But fantastic all the same, all speaking English, guns, I'd say it's okay, we get it. Cowboys, this is our
Sure,
lore.
we've done this.
Our lore that is wildly fake. It's up there with pirates on how fucking absurdly that would be an interesting one to random aside. That'd be an interesting one to compare and contrast. So for those of you that don't know, pirating by and large existed for like I think 30 years. It was like it was a hot moment in time. It wasn't like pirating as we showcase it on television, Blackbeard and the like. It did not exist it didn't hit 3 digits. It was less than 100 years. It was a very small amount of time, and it wasn't actually that big. It did happen. A lot of the time it was military. Like
privateers. Yeah.
Yeah. But like it didn't happen for that long. Same with the cowboy. The cowboy didn't exist in that much art of the United States, and it didn't exist that long. Also, they were deterministically not white by and large. I think it was like if you were going to draw a percentage, it would be the minority of cowboys would have been white, not the majority.
Also, the Wild West is a misnomer. The West was largely government funded and subsidized and weirdly regulated. So there's that.
That being said, the aspect of it being wild did exist for probably 40 or 50 years because of the lack of communication. So there are wild aspects to
Sure.
it in that, like, but once the telegram existed and like they were able to fast shoot information, it changed. Like, you couldn't rob someplace, go someplace else and lay low. You could do that for 40 or 50 years. You could kill a guy, steal his shit, and then like move over a mountain and be fine for like a while. Those are the things you get away with because, like, I don't know how information can't proliferate that fast and then like
Yeah.
keep the traffic controlled. But anyway, this is very much a change of setting and a change of language for a, because by and large we are, and I don't want to make us sound snooty in this, we are the minority. Most moviegoers are people that want to watch something low key, have fun, enjoy it. That's totally fine. That is the impetus of the art form. It can go bigger, as in the many ways that we like to talk about it, but by and large, the most important thing, this is something I've hit on before, is you need to appeal to a majority of the audience
Gotta
for
appeal to your
your,
base.
exactly. And some of them, with you're seeing with like A24 and with streaming services, the base doesn't have to be that big, which is cool. But by and large, especially back in the day when, you know, people were going out to theaters, you needed to have a broad appeal. And this is because the average Joe needs to be able to enjoy most movies. I still think that's better to cater to than not. And with these movies, they did that by changing the setting to America because that's where, especially at the time, most movie viewers existed. We watch more movies than any other country, I think, by like a multiplicative value point. And a lot of countries like to consume movies that are from America because America has become such a Hollywood landscape that it's familiar to the rest of the world to
Yeah.
some degree, which is hilarious. It's why a lot of movies are set in the same three places. It's because people effectively know them at this point. Like, people
Yeah.
know LA from movies, people know Texas from movies, and people know New York from movies. It's just kind of a thing. And like there are adjacents thereof. Like, if you set a movie in like Seattle, if you set a movie in like Wyoming, Montana, that is Texas adjacent. If you set a
Yeah.
movie
The
in, you know,
yeah.
Jersey or, you know, whatever. So by doing that with Magnificent Seven, transporting it to the United States, making it guns instead of swords, making English instead of Japanese, you know, more people get to effectively watch your movie, which is a net benefit.
Yeah.
And the funny one is the newer experience of this, because Magnificent Seven and Seven Samurai, these are movies that came out in like the 50s and the 60s, I think. In Order of Disappearance is a movie that was, hold on, I have this. So, In Order of Disappearance, who's the director? Hans Petter Moland. I think he's Norwegian or, you know, Scandinavian director. Makes this really cool crime thriller. Oddly enough, has fucking Stellan Skarsgård, who you know is the kind of dorky genius from Thor, the first one, the guy that he goes drinking with and like can't handle it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That guy is the lead in this movie, which is a like it's a his son gets killed and he goes out on vengeance as
Okay.
like an everyman, which is just funny because he looks like an everyman, but then also watching him kill people is weird. Um, so he goes out and does that movie.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It does really well. It's, you know, spoken in like Swedish or Norwegian. Sorry, I don't remember which. So it's only good in a small audience.
Mm-hmm.
Now he wants more people to see the movie, wants more people to enjoy this thing he came out with. So he redoes them. The literal same director redid it in the United States in English with Liam Neeson set in Alaska. It's the exact same movie. It's like carbon copy, you know, change landscape, change like any kind of fun little cultural hijinks that ensue or whatever. But it's the same movie. And the reason he did it is so that more people could enjoy it. Which is oddly one of the more, so like, it's kind of the flip reverse of the what if we changed, you know, what if we made the Wiz white? What if we made Ghostbusters have vaginas? Well, this one is actually applicable because that doesn't always change whether people can go see a movie. Sometimes it does, most of the times it doesn't. But this remaking the movie when it's, you know, in this form does help people see the movie, does help people experience this work of art. That being said, the foil to this, the Ghostbusters with vaginas, would be was it Two Deaths at a Funeral or whatever it is. There's this British movie that came out. I think it's like 2010. It's called Death at a Funeral,
Okay.
and it came out in 2007. British. It's really fucking funny. Awesome. Has Peter Dinklage as this like random person that's at a funeral that nobody knows. Then in 2010, what if we took a British movie, everybody speaking English, it's not like absurdly hard to understand Cockney, and put it in America and made the whole entire cast black? It's like, what? Oh, and then we had Peter Dinklage returning as the same role. This is not that. That's fucking stupid. That's people not wanting to watch a British movie, then go fuck themselves. This is people not wanting to read subtitles in Norwegian and not understand the setting of a story versus being able to understand a story. That's different. It seems like the same, fucking not. Anyway, before I go on an absurd tirade and end up saying something stupid, what do you think about changing the main character?
I think sometimes it can be great. Um, so Mad Max Fury Road absolutely bangs. I think
Can't
it was the
confirm.
only. It is still the only movie I have seen twice in a 24-hour period in theaters. I don't know that I ever will do that again. To be fair,
Yeah, I
so
mean, with the cultural landscape of like watching movie theaters now, I could
I
that
mean,
might just be a locked in number.
yeah. I mean, I don't know that there's that many movies I've rewatched it in a 24-hour period. I mean, shit, not even 24 hours, like 10. Like it was not long. Like, um, yeah, the main character of Mad Max Fury Road is really not Max. Like, it is
Yeah,
Furiosa. Max is just
it's
kind of,
nearly title only.
yeah, like he does help with some of the framing. He has important moments, but like the plot is not centered around him.
So in all the previous iterations of Mad Max movies, he is the main character, and his sidekick is basically his fucking car. That banger vehicle that you see in the intro of Mad Max Fury Road, that's his car. He drives it in all three movies. I think it's kind of the linchpin of one of the movies of him getting it back. And
Hmm.
that's what every single movie is about, him to some degree, either him interacting with a culture or like group of people or just him. And this one, literally the only reason we know it's Max is because they say it. It literally could have been anybody else, but to continue the franchise, they kind of needed to have him be Mad Max.
Yeah, it also means that just by in recognition of the name card, you know kind of what setting you're getting into. You know what
Yeah.
kind, like what the kind of ground rules are, right? Like because of his name recognition and because of his car, you get to understand this is okay. This is where we are. This is where we're starting from. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And it does a really good job shifting the focal point to be around someone you don't know in Furiosa, and with I both love and hate how little dialogue this movie has.
It's kind of amazing, right?
It's kind of dope because there's like so many things you're allowed to infer and just allowed to roll with, and it works really well. But at the same time, I'm like, just have people talk, please, and they don't need to. And
Yeah.
it like I think Max in total says like 180 words or something. Like Tom Hardy says almost nothing, but Furiosa doesn't say tons more. I think she has a total of like
So in Mad Max Fury Road, Max has only 63 lines of dialogue. Furiosa has 80. The total line count comes out to 1,200 lines. The total, George Miller said he designed the movie in storyboard form and said that he wanted the film to be understood in Japan without subtitles.
it's a
Yeah,
banger.
I mean, not wrong. You could definitely watch that movie deaf and understand like 85-90% of what happens.
Yeah, it's It is such a simple plot line. It is such simple primal motivations that it is, and especially again with Mad Max being the title, we don't have to explain the setting. We
Yep.
don't have to explain. In about 45 seconds, you understand why Morton Joe is awful.
I mean, look at the guy.
Look at the fucker. You like the first scene you see him. He comes across as this abusive jackass who deprives people of water, and that is just owning people. Like, I think you basically get all this established in about 3 minutes of screen time.
Yep.
Like, okay, cool. He is an asshole. We can hate this man. Carte blanche. Done. Like, and in another 60 seconds, you realize that Furiosa is smuggling people away from him.
Yep.
Like, okay. Like, there is so. It's so well done with no dialogue that it almost doesn't matter. The Max is the main character. He just establishes a framework to run from. Cool, follow her. She's got this.
Mm-hmm. So one of the interesting things that you touched on is like talking about making, how little dialogue is in this movie.
Mm,
So to kind of wave my I went to film school card.
go for it.
In film school, one of the first projects that we are often given is making a movie without sound. One, it's a lot easier. You need less equipment.
Sure.
Two, it starts training your brain in how to tell a story with physical elements. Character
How to show
movement.
and not tell in this literal
Exactly.
sense.
And that is a really important one, and something that they want as general rule in filmmaking, they want you to stay away from, is showing, not telling. This is why, by and large, good directors will not often have just verbal dumps of information. And that's why, like, really good teachers don't lecture for hours on end. You can't take it in. The human brain can only process so much before it starts shutting down.
Yeah.
However, visually, it's compelling enough to your eyes that intrigues your, like, parts of your brainstem or whatever. I don't fucking know enough to get scientific on this, but it engages you in a different way where you're able to ingest more information. It's also just more visually stimulating and appealing. Also, you don't met language barrier or even cognitive barrier. Like, even if you are a young kid versus an old man watching an action movie, watching something that is visually stimulating, you're getting both. But
Yeah.
if you're doing an info dump, the kid or the old man might not be fast enough to get it.
Yeah.
So always show, don't tell, and that's why he's goated.
So what if we wanted to do something in a similar universe but with a different starting point, Isaac? What's a good example for this?
So one of our favorite movies is the original Mr. and Mrs. Smith with
Bang.
Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Movie slaps, has a great score, has great fight choreography, bangs all the way down. It's a really fun ride, ends kind of, action movie, like romancy, very, neat little cute bow.
Yeah.
Ask us the sex question. It's just the dumbest way to end that movie, but it's awesome
10.
all at the same. Yeah, just such a dork. I love
So,
it.
of the smug, like smiling, is like he's so
Oh
proud.
yeah, he's
Like,
so proud.
Nailing it. Literally.
This boys get like. I love how men don't change. Like, getting laid. It's like, all right, you're fucking how old and are married? Neat. It's
Amen.
so adorable.
Not gonna knock it.
Yeah.
God bless.
Game respect game. However, in the new show put out by Donald Glover and starring Donald Glover, they take a very different aspect. It's in the same universe. You still have, kind of spy game, kind of mucking about in biz,
Sure.
but the starting point is different. We don't come across these people working for different companies. We see them working for the same company. They're given these names. They are not their actual names. All these different aspects, it changes very much the trajectory of the show while still being in the same universe, still getting the same vibe, kind of similar to Mad Max of like, oh, we know the universe, even though it's clearly different. Like the whole movie of Mr. and Mrs. Smith is set on the they both don't know. You're kind of like there's this theory put out by Hitchcock talking about suspense
Mm-hmm.
and goes, if you show a character finding a bomb that's ticking, you have suspense, but the character knows about the suspense, so you're along with the character. If you want more suspense, you have a bomb that the character doesn't know about, but you, the audience, do. So now you worry about the bomb and you worry about the character finding the bomb. So you have two forms of suspense, and they are far more gripping. In the same way, in the original Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we kind of get that suspense of we both know they're working for different agencies, but neither of them do.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. It builds up to that. And I don't think it takes away from the show. It's just different. This show doesn't have that suspense at all.
Mm-hmm.
We have the suspense of are the characters going to make it because they are both kind of green. You have how is this show going to play out? What are they going to do? But it's from a very very different starting point, and it changes the whole entire trajectory and shape of the show into its own thing while getting to build off of the past, which I think is very cool. So, what if we took an original IP but made it better?
Well, you get the Mummy. Um, I will give it to this one. It's kind of hard because you have to start with something that is either very dated at this point or was really botched on round one. The problem is most things that are super botched are often worth never touching. But someone took the idea of the old, good lord, like what it's like late 50s
Yeah,
monster movie
mm-hmm.
of just mummy slow chase. I went, all right, what if we just fucking play with this?
1932,
Oh
actually.
my god, I gave it too much credit. Um, and they had a delightful cast, and just they just kind of had way too much fun with it, which I think is part of the best thing about the Mummy is that it it's the most loosely based on something ever, and that is absolutely to its betterment. Like they toyed with the idea of giving it some kind of Egyptian mythology tie-ins. They toyed with the idea of what if the mummy isn't wrapped in bandages and slow and instead has magic because Imhotep is a jackass.
Yep.
Um,
Also, what if you get turned into a cloud of go fuck yourself?
what if scarabs were dung beetles?
Yeah.
Scarabs don't eat people. That actually scared the shit out of me for a while until I looked at
Oh,
what
yeah.
scarabs were.
No, even knowing that, it still scares the shit out of me. Just watching that, I'm like, dude, that one scene where the guy who deserves to get it gets it, it's still unnerving.
Yeah, watching it like move under his skin.
Move under his skin and him go insane. I mean, the way he dies is fucking funny, but the setup before that is really
It's
unsettling.
uncomfortable, yeah. Also,
Which,
the notion you could have 1,000-year-old bugs perfectly preserved in a block. Like,
yeah.
wait a minute. Um, yeah, it's it's so loosely based on an old IP that just nobody cared about. Like, I'm sure there is a dozen people around the world who were diehard fans of the Mummy who might still breathe. Um, but they took kind of the old
Mummies, mummy fans that are mummies themselves.
yeah, that are slowly being embalmed. It like I feel like there's plenty of things that have kind of done like I think especially really old stuff. Like there has been dozens of iterations on Dracula. Like and some of them have been very good. Like I mean for fuck's sake, we love Helsing. Like there have been crazy iterations on old monster movies and really old kind of folk tales and um you know old legends, old lore that have been revamped in many ways. And a lot of it has to do with they were either made to be told in quick session essentially because they were made to be verbal stories or they were done so long ago they didn't have modern effects or a lot of modern tools.
Yep.
So this is a good example of when you take something that's old and kind of it's fucking dust caked. You go, "Hey, let's give it a fresh coat. Let's spruce it up a bit. Let's give it a makeover." And cast Brendan Fraser. Everyone should cast Brendan Fraser. That's the real
Always
takeaway.
cast Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, never not Brendan Fraser.
And with that wise, with that word to the wise,
that's the end note. Always cast Brendan Fraser.
always cast Brendan Fraser. That's the fix to all reboots. Always cast Brendan Fraser. We're gonna take a quick ad break and come back with our recommendations and our quip off. See y'all in a bit.
Don't you just hate being a weird social outcast? Don't you wish that you were suave, had women or men falling all over you for no particular reason other than you're present? Do you wish that you had superpowers? Or were simply OP AF, just for existing? Well, that kind of wish for social status and ability can be fulfilled with Isekai, the most power trip trope anime nerds have clamored to in recent years. Chock full of self-insert protagonists, you can numb your mind and avoid thinking about responsibilities or your crippling social anxiety while you ponder life's greatest question to date. Wouldn't it all just be better if I was reborn somewhere else? Probably not.
Hello.
Oh Lord.
Welcome back from the break. So, well, I've still got the mic before I pass it. Recommendation this week. It wasn't an argument, it was just talking with one of my many dates, player, that I was on. And
You're serious?
And I was reminded, oh yeah, I fucking love Wes Anderson, especially Fantastic Mr. Fox. The movie's awesome. It's adorable. It's so well. It does a good job at being Pixar-esque and having things for kids and things for adults. More for adults, obviously, because it's Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
But it's very sweet. It's very cute, and it's just very lovely. If you want a great afternoon time on this Monday, then you're gonna hear it on Monday. Just pop in Fantastic Mr. Fox and just enjoy the fantasticness of it all. What about you? What do you got for recommendations?
I have started reading something called The Wandering Inn. I was a little on the fence at the very start of it. The more I get into it, the more I dig it. So The Wandering Inn is a web serial that I recommended. I recommended by two people, and one of my friends is annoyed that I had to hear it from someone else before I started reading it. He's like, "Dude, the fuck." Sorry. So it's basically the idea of it. It's effectively isekai made as a web serial, where people just kind of end up in this alternate reality where classes and levels are a thing, and there's lizard people and kobolds and gnolls and shit running around, and the main character is like a 20-year-old introvert who just kind of wakes up in front of a dragon. Or not even wakes up, like she tries to go to the bathroom and like turns a corner and there's just a dragon in front of her.
So
yeah, so she is diametrically opposed to a lot of the stuff in this universe, because in this universe violence is just kind of standard and it feels very wrong to her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool. And it's an interesting play on the idea of like everything has levels, everything has classes. So she is now an innkeeper, like that, and so everything that has any kind of progression to it has a class to it, and it comes with skills as you level up and gain experience. And it's really interesting to watch this kind of slowly play out. Also, I got really sold when she has to fight finally, and she does not just breeze past the psychological toll. of drowning a goblin in boiling oil.
Jesus.
Yeah, she just basically throws a cauldron of boiling oil onto a guy and he dies. It is metal as shit. It's like,
That's
I mean, she doesn't know how to fight, but she's like, I can set a trap.
goddamn.
Yeah, it's like, holy shit. So it's cool. It's really good, and it's got the person writing it has done some really interesting world building that they're teasing out. Um, so I'm here for it. There's a fuck ton of it. It is huge. Um, I will be probably reading this for the next 2.5 months.
Damn.
Like there are, I would reckon that each entry is probably 3,000 words on average.
Shush.
That'll be my guess. I think there's about 200 or 300 of them.
Let me read it again. Shush.
You can add a few more E's. I think I'm lowballing it because I think there's 10 sections, and I think each section is about 30-ish entries. So about 300. It's a fuck ton of it, is what I'm getting at.
That's a lot.
There's a lot. So
Well, something that there's not a lot of, but the little that there is, I enjoy it, is the song Downpour by Charlie Cunningham. It's really soft, it's really sweet. It's not lullaby material, but it definitely is like soothing. Like it's good. It's a great song for a walk around the park.
sure.
Probably what you do it for. It's a great, just chill tune. Would recommend. Not going to bring you up, not going to bring you down. It's just going to be with you. It's lovely. Been playing any games this week, mine Broshkinkowski, or listening to any tunes, perhaps?
I was actually reminded of how much I enjoy playing something. I played around with Eli on their Switch, actually. Slay the Spire.
Oh yeah.
It is an indie darling that is slated to get. They are making a second one. I think it comes out next year. They announced that like the I-21 or whatever the fuck that was like a big indie panel. They just showcased a lot of like things in production. And I'm super happy that there's going to be a second one because the first one is absolutely gangbusters. It's super good. It's a great little roguelite deck builder. It's its average play if you get to completion is 40 minutes to an hour. It's very very good, very bite sized. It's just great. Everything about it, 10 out of 10.
So most people know about the game Wordle. It took over the internet for quite a while. We still play it pretty regularly. I got introduced via one of the was it one of the Green brothers introduced, or I think it was actually them playing it against each other. There is a game on the New York Times website called Spelling Bee, which is really fun. It's not it. I don't know what the high score beating it looks like, but it just sets out this like honeycomb letter setup. You have to use the middle letter in all your words, and you see what words you can spell, and the bigger the better. It's just fun. It makes your brain work in different ways, especially with the way it's set up, of kind of like the way you kind of interact with it, and the way your brain ingests it and is able to figure it out, or at least for me. And if you want a fun little silly game that you can play on your phone, it's free. It's great. Again, one of those perfect one-a-day games that you get to play it, while you're on the shitter, in transit, on a break at work, supposed to be doing something at work, but fuck this job, and then just, go back to your life after 5 minutes or whatever. A lot of fun. Now, on to something that we both enjoy. I found it first because I'm the Christopher Columbus, in that I suck.
I was to say, is that
There's not many explorers that don't suck ass.
yeah? But
Like, the Leif Erikson of fucking YouTube shorts. I don't know.
at least Magellan is better.
Sure, I am the good one of those. Pick one. Put in the comments the best explorer in your estimation when it comes to not retroactively being a piece of shit. Fredo on TV. There'll be a link in the description, or you can just YouTube that shit. We have both watched quantitative, like, tens of hours of these shorts of this man just saying the funniest shit in the sometimes the best voices.
I'm not gonna lie. I love the gonna guide your soul to the crossroads. Might be my favorite repeat expression he says. I don't know why. There's just something about it tickles me.
I love the brother man.
The way he like
I'm gonna need a
leans into the
piece.
camera every time, like
Mm. The best part is he doesn't look at the camera. The camera is like slightly off to his right. And so it's just like this nice angle of like, you don't feel like he's talking at you. You feel like you're looking at him as he's talking to someone else.
yeah.
But fantastic, great short material. A lot of, he kind of does react videos right in that he adds to them. He is not just laughing at them or like thumbs upping, which, you know, whatever. Everything is transformative to a certain degree. I feel like he often transforms it to a large degree in his commentary, whether it be comedic or.
I gotta add a caveat to that. No, if you're just adding yourself to an image and you're just giving a thumbs up, fuck you. You're not changing shit. You're not offering anything inventive. A toddler can do. If a toddler can do that, you're not transforming shit. Proceed.
Anyway,
I hate
would
that
highly
shit.
recommend Fredo on TV. It's so much fun, so bite-sized, and so damn addictive.
Yeah, I gotta say, the dude is a terrific command of the English language. And I love it. Like, he has some really inventive insults, and so
yeah.
oh yeah, like
Him and likely a future channel that we're going to recommend on here do a great job at being super creative
Right.
with their verbiage.
Casual Geographic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shh. We didn't recommend that this week. That's
You didn't hear nothing.
You hear nothing but anything.
Yeah, it's I love. I'm a sucker for creative insults or wonky compliments, and he just nails it out of the park. All right.
Lastly, for us to nail this out of the park,
We got our quip off.
what are we quipping today, my guy?
Today we're gonna quip some Gravity Falls.
All right, putting 2 minutes on the clock, and start us off, my bro.
It's funny how dumb you are.
Children fighting. I can sell this.
I'm a Seuss.
Schmabulok.
Everybody wants a sausage. They don't want to know how it's made.
Awkward sibling hug. Pat, pat.
We cats are a curious bunch.
Finally, an excuse to punch a teenager.
Is it legal for a child to wear that much makeup?
You know, studies show that ladders are more dangerous than a loaded gun. That's why I own 10 guns, in case some maniac tries to sneak in with a ladder.
Get out of my uncle's head, you isosceles monster.
When the cops aren't around, anything's legal.
There's no cops in the woods. We take this to our graves.
Your math is no match for my gun, you idiot.
Excelsior or whatever.
I was woken by the sound of mockery.
Direct me to the object of ridicule.
Oh no, the tax collectors. They found me.
Cross this down off our list.
Reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Later.
That man is careless and thoughtless and has no regard for others. Put him on TV!
All right, I have to say this was one of my favorite ones. Grunkle Stan, are you wearing a blindfold?
Oh, these cataracts, it might as well be.
What is that, a woodpecker?
Call it Benjamin Franklin, it looks like a woman. county jail was so cold.
Well, that's our episode. Thank you for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this, please feel free to
Like,
comment,
share.
and subscribe.
But don't forget, new episodes of Super Pros Bros come out the first and third Saturday of every month.
Bye.
Bye.